We are live here at Coffee with Humans with my new friend, Frank. Frank, welcome to Coffee with Humans.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason. And I appreciate you validating my identity as a human. That I must be human if Jason had me here for coffee.
Was there a question? Did you think you were not human at some point?
Yes, for quite a period of time during my childhood. But it just seemed like everybody else knew what to do, but I had no idea. It was as if they had been given the script and somebody didn't give me one.
Yeah? You felt disconnected from your humanity?
Yeah, but I got over that.
Are you sure? I don't know. I feel like there might be some lingering questions there.
Yeah, but I tell you what the difference is now. Now I realize a lot of people feel the same way.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
It doesn't exclude me from the tribe.
You thought you were alone in that feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
It turns out, no, right. Everybody thinks they're crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's good feedback. I'm curious, what drew you to clicking the link to have coffee with me?
I love the format of your podcast, Jason, which is just real easy, free form conversation. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to talk about something that has become my life mission in a way that I wasn't time constrained and I didn't have to stick to a PowerPoint deck or bullet points or what have you. And I could elicit your feedback and your questions to help me expand my own thinking on the topic. Wow. And I'm hopeful that I'm going to learn a great deal about this through the course of our conversation.
Boy, oh boy, you're setting this up. You're setting this up heavy. Now I feel like I have to be smart.
Well, no, there's no need for that, Jason. Certainly.
Okay. Well, before we get to those questions, and this is a dialogue for all of our viewers and listeners who are joining us. I'm with my new friend Frank. We've met now 10 minutes ago, roughly 12. Mm-hmm. And the whole premise of Coffee with Humans is that I'll have coffee with anybody. The only rule is no sales calls. And the underneath the surface is this idea that we are all human with very similar needs and wants and hopes and fears. And we put sort of a veneer on the top and go about living our lives and then say, hey, here's all the things that I've done. And somehow that makes me special. And when the truth of it is that underneath that surface, we are so much more similar than we are different. The expression of it in our world is where the difference seems to work itself out. But we're going to get to this hot, heavy question that you've got. And I was when we were talking about what to name this, you're like, entrepreneurship is the answer.
Is that heavy enough for you?
That was heavy and fine, like definite. And what was so funny too was because what was that show? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Right.
There's a part in there where it says 40. What's the answer to life, the universe, and everything? And the answer is 42. And so when anybody says what's like, this is the answer, I'm like 42. It's just like
that's right.
In my head.
Yeah. I prefer the number 87.
Okay. All right, fine. We can talk about that too. Well, this is a dialogue for sure, not just a monologue. So you're welcome to ask questions back for me, Frank. Before we get to that, I'm going to throw a background up because it is now negative. No, it's not true. It was like -2 this morning when I woke up. And so I've got the background in honor of winter of a snowy path next to a river.
Where are you located, Jason?
Oh, you know what? You beat me to that. That's a great, thank you. I'm outside Chicago.
Oh, nice.
In a town called Rockford.
I love Chicago, but I don't love it in the winter.
Yeah, it seems every winter we Chicagoans and Rockfordians and Northern Illinoisans stare at each other. Sometimes we're like out shoveling, we like look each other dead in our soul, and we go, "Why are we doing this?"
Yeah,
and then we chuckle about it and move on.
Keep shoveling.
Exactly. That's totally true. Keep shoveling. It's still coming down. I don't know. I love the winter.
Yeah, I do too. And I think snow is such a beautiful thing. I mean, it's hard to deny the beauty of snow falling and snow on the ground, trees covered with snow, but Then you got to shovel your car out. You got to shovel the driveway. You slip and fall and bust your bum. Not so nice.
That's totally true. I love the snow as well, especially if it's going to be cold. I think if you want to be frigidly cold, you better be snowy. Don't just be frigidly cold and clear skies and no snow
Yeah.
on the ground. That doesn't make sense to my brain. But hit us with some snow. Like hit us with a lot of snow. That's what I love. Which fortunately we have maybe about a foot on the ground now.
Oh,
It's
wow.
kind of fun. Yeah. So
outside of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia, and we get snow just frequently enough that it completely paralyzes the whole city. And people who live farther north, tease us unmercifully because they're accustomed to it. But that's just it. We don't get it often enough to develop any sort of expertise in how to drive in it or deal with it. And so we just go off the rails anytime it snows here. And people mob the grocery stores to get milk, bread, and toilet paper. And anyway, we were supposed to have a large storm just this past week. Didn't happen, but didn't mean that the stores didn't get cleared out of toilet paper.
Right. So that's an interesting one. I'm not certain what goes through people's minds. We just had this issue. It was like COVID times 2, or second version of COVID, where we had a snowfall coming and people cleaned out the shelves of toilet paper and paper towels. I'm not certain. I don't know what goes through a person's mind. If you've lived here any length of time, you know that the snow is just going to be cleared within 24 hours. They're going to salt the roads. You're going to be totally fine. Do you really need to stock up? I'm not. It's not like snowpocalypse where we're
Right,
where we're never going to come out of our house for 3 weeks. Doesn't make sense to my brain.
Well, I guess it shows what level of fear can be inspired by the prospect of running out of toilet paper. I mean, I don't care if we're starving, but God help us, no toilet paper.
Oh my God, you're right though. It is fear is a powerful motivator, right? I mean, it's why the stock market kind of creeps up, and then fear goes boom, right, and it just like slams down. It cuts like a knife.
Well, and that's why negative news is so effective. It's because it rivets our attention. It gets right down to your lizard brain, down in your limbic system. Oh, there's a threat. And you look right at it and you can't stop looking at it because that's your primary mover, is to protect yourself from threats. And then on the other hand, good news is like, well, you have to really think about it. You don't have to think about fear. It grabs you. And that's unfortunately a lot of marketers and programmers understand that, and they use it to their advantage and profitably.
Yeah, totally. Hit that fight or flight mechanism in a person, and you can really affect change quickly.
Yes, get people moving.
Well, this whole entrepreneurship is the answer. Definitive statement of yours was very curious to me. Where's that come from?
Well, you talked about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I was watching the latest episode of Young Sheldon last night.
Okay.
And I don't know if you're a fan of that show, but Sheldon's 11 years old and now gone off to college because he's such a genius. And he just had his first day in philosophy class. And Sheldon is somebody whose knowledge is definite. Just like I said, entrepreneurship is the answer. But his philosophy professor had different ideas about how definite anything is, especially anything in your mind. But with that having been said, and I acknowledge that there's, nothing is sure but death and taxes. Let me explain what I mean by that. We all face challenges in this life, and it seems as though it's part of the plan. People who have it too easy, those few people who are coupon clipping babies or trust fund babies and go through life without a challenge, often, they have a lot of difficulty with that. Humans respond well to a challenge, and it brings out the best in them. And then if the challenge disappears, and we often see this, let's say with an athlete or a rock star who makes it to the top, and then suddenly, well, what else is this all there was do it. I still feel like the same person, even though I achieved my dreams. I think somewhere in the plan, humans are supposed to have a challenge in front of them. And entrepreneurship offers that to us. And it does a number of things for us with that. It occupies our mind and keeps us from thinking about things that probably really we shouldn't be spending too much time on. I often say that politics is too high on Maslow's hierarchy of needs for me to spend much time thinking about. I just feel that people allow themselves to get wrapped up in a lot of things, fear and other negative emotions that really, if they would just get busy helping other people, they wouldn't have time for that. And that's another thing that entrepreneurship does for you is you help others, you help your customers, you help your employees, you help your vendors, you help everyone through the provision of the product or service that you've set out to do. And so again, this is something that it seems like we're all wired for. We're wired to help each other. This is why you'll find a common person just doing some heroic deed in the moment and they will almost always say anybody would have done the same thing. And it's an interesting reaction that they have. But at the same time, another thing that entrepreneurship does for us is it gives us hope for the future. It gives us something to dream about, which again is a great motivating factor. It also offers the opportunity to completely change our financial situation, which many of us dream of, becoming rich or what have you. And I think really the primary financial goal most people would like to achieve is financial independence. They don't necessarily need to be rich. They just like to stop worrying about money. They'd like to be able to make their mortgage payment, put their kid through school and so forth. And so it offers all of these things. I may be missing a couple that have occurred to me, but it really does answer or fulfill a large number of needs that each of us as a human have. And as a result, if we were to engage with it successfully, that's a very important point, we each could potentially lead more fulfilling lives.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think you're entirely right. The idea of entrepreneurship being a what am I thinking? Kind of a framework for living. I don't think you have to be an entrepreneur to have a spirit of being I don't think you have to be an entrepreneur in terms of starting a company to have the spirit of entrepreneurship. I think that entrepreneurship is a mindset to assess one's circumstances and realize that you are in charge of figuring a way out or figuring a way through. And I think that people can do that in their current positions in the framework of a larger organization. They can also break out and do that in terms of a company, right? Launching a company, starting their own thing, or a side job, some sort of side gig. But I think the having a line and drawing a line between I'm either an entrepreneur or I'm not is a shallow way. And I'm not saying that you're saying this, but I think that people think of it this way. They think of it as this shallow thing of like, well, I'm not an entrepreneur because I didn't start a company. It's like, okay, well, but you have the spirit of entrepreneurship because look at the things that you're creating within your world, your sphere of influence, your life or your job. And so I agree with you. I think that entrepreneurship or the spirit of entrepreneurship and the lessons that come along with that you have a great degree of control and responsibility and authority, more so than people realize. And that's where I think if people would wake up to that sort of feeling and that sort of mindset, that's where I think a lot of forward momentum comes from. I know that I had a friend ask me this at one point in time. At one point in time, I went out to coffee with a friend, and he's like, "Hey, you know what? How have you done all the things that you've done?" And I was like, "Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know." And And in further assessing it, I thought the reason I've been able to do all the things I've done is that I realized at some point in time that the rules are all made up, and they were all made up by people like you and me.
That's a fact.
And it doesn't mean that some rules are not definite and immovable, that they're, things that people shouldn't and can't do. But a lot of how we view life and a lot of the structure we have around us it's just made up, and it's what we know now, but it doesn't have to be that way. And that's where I think people can excel, I think, with that sort of mindset in the framework of an existing organization. And if they've got some other fantastic idea and want to launch it on their own, awesome. But I think the mindset is portable through your own ventures or in the middle of something that you're helping somebody else with.
I would agree completely with that. And probably the most essential aspect of it is bringing value. Within an organization, charitable organization, volunteer work that you do, whatever it is, that's and making your own rules, while at the same time being cognizant and respectful of other people's feelings and boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think you're right. I'm not saying, and it's funny, and this is something I've learned from our conversation already, is that perhaps it's important for me to be more clear about what I mean or how I define the word entrepreneurship. But generally, the people that I speak to, I have a podcast as well, and other things that I do in my life, are business owners. And so this idea that entrepreneurship is the answer is sort of the first statement that I make before I lay out how to make it work for you.
Yeah. Oh, I think you're definitely onto something with that. And I do think that the lessons of being an entrepreneur are applicable to everybody, no matter the circumstances. And some people will launch their own things, which I think they should. And some people will just simply take the mindset and maybe some hard skills from being an entrepreneur and apply those in their existing organizations and their existing jobs. And I think they'll outpace their peers. And that's where you can kind of see the distinction with people who sit back and wait to be told what to do. Sure. That's not the mindset of an entrepreneur, and that's really not the mindset to excel in an organization that already exists. If you, I think, walk your journey with the idea that the responsibility is mine. And if I see it, I need to assess, is this my responsibility, and do I have any authority to do anything with it? And do I want to affect a change? That's kind of an entrepreneur, Mm-hmm. I want to see change. I want to see something different. I want to see something better, and I can do something about it. To me, that's like the fundamental nut of being an entrepreneur.
And I think an important word there is responsibility, and to differentiate it from blame. Right. Whose fault is this? Even if something bad, let's say, happens to you, or a challenge pops up, it may not be your fault, but it's your responsibility to react to it or go over it, go around it, solve the problem. And I think that's someplace where a lot of people like to apply the sort of the victim persona to themselves. Oh, this has happened to me, woe is me. Whereas instead, when you look at the lives of people who are fulfilled and happy and have great relationships and have some level of financial success, again, to me, the financial success is only a little bit beyond making sure you got all your bills covered and you don't have to worry about it. You'll find that that's what they do. When we all face obstacles, and when they pop up, you think about it and maybe do get angry for a minute or two. But then it's your responsibility to do something about it. Have you ever heard of something called the explanatory value?
No. Tell me.
It has to do with how you explain things to yourself when
Okay.
something goes wrong. Is it, everybody hates me, the world is against me,
Hmm.
why is it always me? That's one explanatory value. And the other is, ouch, that hurt. Well, what am I going to do about it? What can I learn from this? How can I avoid repeating this? And what can we do to move forward?
Hmm.
And this is a very important thing to look for example, when you're looking to hire someone, what their explanatory value is and how they react to adversity, because we all going to run into it.
Yeah, that's true. I like your viewpoint. What brought you to this understanding? What's your journey like that you care so much?
I appreciate that question. In On February 22nd, 1974, to be precise,
Yes, that's very
my mother
precise.
opened a little copy shop in our hometown. And this was around the same time that Kinko's originally opened. At this point, I don't know if people even remember Kinko's, but it's now FedEx office. Um, but in any event, she thought it would be a good idea to have what she called a store that sells copies. And it turned out that she was right about that. But trying to make a living 5 or 10 cents at a time, the price of a copy, is a very hard way to go. And she knew nothing about business and she knew nothing about copying other than how to operate a copy machine. And as the company grew into printing and additional technology, she had no background in that. And as a result, we really struggled and financially. Um, I was 15 years old when the company opened. I'm now 62 years old, so it's been 47 years that I've been involved with business. And I learned, I'll tell you, even though we were doing very poorly, the copy shop was a great place for me to learn about other businesses because it was kind of like the barbershop for business owners.
Yeah.
Everybody needs copies, forms, business cards, flyers, that kind of stuff. So I got to meet a lot of people from a lot of other small businesses. But in any event, we weren't just poor, we weren't just broke, we were poor. And I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'm not ashamed of it or anything, but it's just tedious detail.
Sure.
But the one thing that came to me from that was uh, I hated feeling stupid. I
Hmm.
couldn't understand how business worked. Why are we doing so poorly and other people doing well? And I didn't understand marketing. I couldn't understand money, and I couldn't understand how to hire and manage people. And I just and I thought I was a smart kid, and I couldn't understand how I could be so stupid. Now, the fact was I was ignorant. I wasn't stupid, but I
Right.
didn't feel ignorant. I felt stupid.
Those are two
And
different things.
I didn't like it. And so, kind of like Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, I made it my life's mission to never feel stupid again,
All
at
right.
least relative to business. So, honestly, since that, not since that very day, but for a good 40 plus years, I've been focused on learning everything I could about business and what separates the small fraction of business owners who thrive and succeed from the vast majority who struggle and fail.
And what have you come to?
Well, I've actually come to what I call the M cube, 6 areas of discipline, each of which starts with the letter M: mission, marketing, money, machine, which is operations or production. And that's the actual running of your business, Jason. That comes in fourth. Uh, Next is management of people, and last is what I call minutia, which is making sure you got an LLC, you got the right insurance, you did this, you did that, you got your bookkeeping. I refer to that as minutia. And so I refer to this as unlocking the M cube, mastering the 6 sides of business success. And this is based on my experience over the years.
Hmm. And so you have this background behind you of a library,
Yeah, yeah.
which when we were talking before the broadcast, I was curious about that. And what did you tell me?
Like I said, I was talking with somebody and they said, wow, you must be really well read. And I thought, why would you say that? And I didn't realize it was because of the background behind me. I'm sitting in front of a green screen. That's not an actual shelf full of books.
Yeah. It speaks though to what you're talking about, that there's so much information available to us
Mm,
for any given topic. It's hard to distill it down into the things that matter. And not only then beyond that, it's the things that matter now.
yeah.
So that I think is where a lot of people get lost. There's the world of information, there's the things that matter, and then there's the things that matter now. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's also though important to separate what is it, the important from the urgent. And
Yeah, right.
sometimes what matters now is the urgent,
Yep.
but you might want to put the urgent aside and pay more attention to the important. But that's a hard thing to do because that comes back to your limbic system. The lizard brain wants to take care of whatever this urgent thing is, and it has a hard time forgetting about urgent and focusing on important. But you know what I would say that, yeah, we're overwhelmed with information right now. And one suggestion and a tool that I use is to allow others to curate the information for me. So I have certain people that I'm aware of, some of them I know, and some of them I just know through the internet, whose opinions I respect and I like their take on things. And so I follow them and listen to what they have to say about this, that, or the other, or what do they think is important today. And then, as we all do, I choose for myself whether that means something to me or not. But I think curation is an important thing. Not only we should do, we have to do to prevent being overwhelmed by all the information.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. Well, this is all good. This is all good stuff. I'm curious, before we go any further, are you good at drawing?
I absolutely am not. I never have been good at that. And it's one of those things where I thought maybe I should take a course on Udemy in drawing.
I'm waiting. So I ask people this question periodically, because are you up for playing a game with me?
Oh, yeah.
Great. So I ask this question for people, and I've never had anybody say, yes, I am fantastic at drawing. I've never had anybody.
Is that right?
Not once. I'm waiting for the day. Some people downplay themselves. They're like, no, I'm terrible at drawing. And then they whip out this great drawing. You're like, what? That's amazing. And some people, it's like, no, you're legit terrible. You're right.
Yeah. I can't draw a stick figure.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I think I've got everything all set up here for this game we're going to play called Whatchamadraw It.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm going to share my screen. I'm clicking buttons here. Clickety, clickety, click. Boom. I should be slicker at this. Such an amateur. There we go.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
So this is the game we're going to play. Here's how this is going to work. And this is why I asked you before the broadcast if you had a pen and a paper.
Thank you. And
because we have 3 sessions we're going to do here. What's going to happen is up on the screen, I'm going to pull up a card. And this is just a sample card, so we don't have to draw this. This is draw a frog sitting in a canoe headed for a waterfall. You'll draw that. You'll have 1 minute. I'm going to draw the same thing at the same time. We're going to have 1 minute. And then at the end of that, 1 minute, we are going to show our papers to the screen. And we'll see if there are viewers and viewers who want to chime in. You can chime in the chat and vote.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah.
And you and I also get to vote. And here's the great thing about this. Like every good entrepreneur, we can vote for ourselves if we think we did the best job.
Okay.
See how I tied that all together?
That's great. Yeah. Excellent segue.
Thank you. Okay. Here. So you ready for our first card?
Yeah. Oh, there's more than one? Oh my God.
There's 3. There are 3 cards so that we can crown a winner. All right. First card is draw an airplane with butterfly wings. Draw an airplane with butterfly wings. All right. I had a way I was going to draw this, and then I changed my mind.
Yeah, this is there could be certain phallic implications with this. I'm not.
Frank, get your head out of the gutter,
Jason. It's not my fault.
Oh, golly.
Trying to do anything I can to
30
get
seconds.
that out of this picture, but it's not working.
It's this is a family show. That's not true. It's not a family show at all. Oh, this is a.
This
You ever
is
drawn a butterfly wing before? It's been a long time.
Yeah, I got that part right.
Did you? Oh, golly. Good for you.
10 seconds.
Oh, this is terrible. Ah,
Your idea, man.
3,
I know.
Two,
I don't
one.
see. I don't even know what these cards are.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't
This
know
is
these
awful.
cards. I see them basically when you see them. All right. So since I bugged you about doing this, I'll show mine to the screen first. This is a airplane
Oh, I see.
with butterfly wings.
Looks a little bit more like maybe the wing of a praying mantis, perhaps. I don't know.
Like a leaf.
Yeah, a leaf. It does look like a leaf. Okay. I don't know.
Oh.
As this is proof positive that I can't draw.
Oh. What? All right. All right. See, I would think that looks like a butterfly wing. Mine doesn't look like a butterfly wing. Mine definitely looks like a
That's
leaf.
true. That's true. Okay.
I'm gonna have to give you that one.
I guess
I'm
we
voting
didn't get
for
any
you on the
votes
first one.
from the audience.
They take a little while to catch up. The streaming is delayed. But if our viewers have any votes, go ahead and chime in the voting system, which is really just the chat. There's no system. But it was neat how I said system. Okay. All right. I'm gonna vote for you on that one. Do you have a vote, Frank?
I think just because mine looked more like butterfly wings, I
Yeah.
think mine was better.
I agree with you. Okay. Number 2. You ready for round 2?
You had a better fuselage.
That's true. I agree with you. It looked my fuselage looked more like a plane.
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. Number 2. Uh-oh. What's happening here? Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Draw a drum playing tiger, a guitar playing porcupine, and a piano
on.
playing skunk.
How can we do that in a minute? All right.
Well, you gotta stop talking about it first.
Mhm.
Oh,
I'm digging that background music, man.
I know, right? That's a new addition. I'm an entrepreneur, so I just make things up. Oh, golly, this is terrible.
30 seconds.
Oh, you're kidding me. 30 seconds. How? Oh, I'm with you, Nan. I don't know how to do this.
So is this like a team building exercise, or what's the idea here?
I don't
10
know.
seconds.
It's a game. It was given to me for Christmas, and I thought this works on Coffee with Humans.
3, 2,
Oh no. Golly. Oh, wow, this is so bad.
This was challenging.
Oh,
I mean, there's
my
6 items there: a
gosh.
drum, a tiger, a guitar, a porcupine, a piano, and a skunk. So
wow, this was
what
terrible.
I did was I
Mhm.
broke it down into just the musical instruments. So
Okay.
I just went the drum, the guitar, the piano, and a little bit of skunk there.
All right. So no real animals. You just did the basic instruments.
I went with my core strength there. I know more about musical instruments than I do about animals.
Okay. Here we go. This is my drum playing tiger,
No,
which does not look like a tiger. He kind of looks like a
mole, a little bit like a mole.
like a really ugly, I don't know, like a manatee, the manatee head.
Legs.
The porcupine almost looks like a porcupine, but
I like him. He
Right?
looks like he looks like the character Woodstock from the Snoopy cartoon.
he's oddly cute. And then
Yeah,
the piano is an upright piano with I almost drew a skunk, but that's like the skunk stink coming back?
Is that what it is?
That's
He
what it's supposed
stinks
to
at the
be.
piano. Oh,
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
well, I'm going to give you the win on this because I like the porcupine.
You know what? I appreciate that. I at least tried to get all the animals in, even though they are questionably not animals. I at least got a scribble for the skunk. All right, I'm going to give myself that one too.
All right.
Oh, we're tied. You ready for the last one? All right. Draw a dragon playing with a piece of
What?
string. I don't.
I think Michelangelo would be challenged by this if you gave him a week.
A dragon playing with a piece of string. The movie How to Train Your Dragon comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm really unhappy with that tale.
30 seconds.
Ten seconds. Three, two, one.
Oh, golly. All right. Dragon playing with a piece of string.
Okay.
What you got? Oh, snap. Look at that. That's a happy dragon.
There
and
he
he's
is.
playing with a piece of string.
And you see the motion. He's flying.
You know what? You're right. You got the little motion lines in there. That's good. Here's mine. Dragon playing with a piece of string. I thought maybe he was burning up the string.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I don't know.
All right, let's get yours back up there so our viewers can see the magic here.
Nope.
I like your dragon. I think he looks handsome and cute.
Yeah,
my
he
dragon
has a
is
very
really,
positive
really
attitude.
sloppy. Yeah.
All right. I think I took that one.
I think so too. All right, Frank, you're the winner.
It's too bad we didn't have any money on this game, Jason.
You know what? We should have. We should have placed a bet earlier. I keep thinking we should auction off the pictures.
That'd be a good idea. The drawings, yeah, they'd fetch a lot.
They would, and then we'll give the money to charity.
That sounds good.
Why not?
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, if any money came in, sure.
Why are you downplaying this? As a entrepreneur, I would think you'd be like, yes, let's figure out how to get this thing done.
There's just no value there. That's the problem. This is not, as I like to say, if people ain't buying what you're selling, you ain't in business.
Wow, there's no value.
That's what it's all about.
That is shocking that you would say that. How many times have you heard entrepreneurs talk about their ideas though? And the harsh reality is there is no value. You're like, that's not a thing. And they are so convinced that there is value. What in your experience is the disconnect? Is it ignorance? Is it stupidity? Like you were talking about, I don't know. Seriously, it's a serious question in couches.
I get it.
Funny way to ask it.
Here's the thing is that you don't know. There's no way for anyone to know whether an idea is a good one or a bad one. The only way to find out is the marketplace will tell you whether it's a good one or a bad one. And that involves putting in some planning, energy, and financial investment into promoting it, or at least messaging out to the world about this. And, who knew that the pet rock was going to make millions, or there's a million, novelty items like that. But even things like Steve Jobs somehow knew that people wanted the iPhone. I don't think he made them want it. Somehow he just knew. There are some people who are born entrepreneurs, and he's one of them. There are not many of them. But for the rest of us mortals, what we have to do is put it out to the market. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I chop up my long form podcast into a daily minute. And the one I did today was a guy who said, what you have to do is start with the product, put it out to the market, get the feedback from the market, and iterate. And by that, he means change it based on the market feedback. Put it out again. Now, what do people say? Pull it back and change it. Put it out again. And his research has shown that only 8% of all products first introduced in the market succeed in their initial form. And then there's only another 10%, though, that iterate enough times to succeed. And the rest, 82% or whatever it is, they just fail.
Yeah.
So,
I
it
agree
may
with
sound like a crazy or stupid idea, but you just don't know.
No, I agree with that. I say it this way. I say there's only two types of people who are going to do business with you. One is the people who love you, and two are the people who are not yet sure they should love you. And you can argue and say there are people who don't love you, and I just think they are they're not yet sure they should love you pile. And getting our ideas outside of the group of people who love us is super important, because all the people who love us lie to us.
That's right.
Not because they don't, not because they are ill-meaning. They just they've forgiven our sins. So they look at us and, that's just Frank, or, oh, that's a really neat idea. And they're like, I don't want to tell you that it's a terrible idea. And they, by and large, like it anyhow, because they like you. It's the people who not yet sure they should love you that are going about their business of judging you. And
part of it is, I think you need to separate your product or service from yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not whether they like you or not.
When you get it to the marketplace, this idea that they're judging the product or service because they don't love you, and they're not yet sure they should love you, but they're going to judge they're going to judge that product or service on its merits. And if we're not a little critical of what it is that we're creating under the eyes of the marketplace, then it's bound to fail. And that's where I think who said this? I can't remember who said it, but the principle was, and I've told people this before, if you've got an idea, that's really neat, but go talk to 100 people about it first. Here's what I think the problem is, and here's what I think my solution is, and here's how I intend to go about solving it, and here's how I intend to make money. And if you run that by 100 people who don't love you, you're going to change that idea by the end. And most people think of that advice and go, no, I'm not taking that advice. That's a lot of work. It's like, it doesn't, you know what? That is so much easier than creating something and then putting it in front of those 100 people after you've already spent your time and money doing it. And they're like, this is terrible. And they vote for somebody else's product, not yours. And that's where people, I think, get caught. They think they get stuck. Unlike you, where you said, hey, I'm tired of feeling stupid and ignorant in this. They instead look at it and go, this is such a great idea. It's so amazing, so earth-shattering. I don't want to tell anybody about it because I am the holder of the amazingness. It's like, no, you're not. You're not. It's the fraction, like you said, there's a fraction of people who are visionaries who actually, I think, see some sort of future. They have an uncanny ability to look at something that's going to like significantly change the scope of a market, like your thing with the iPhone. But there was market research that went into that. We just didn't know about it because they did such a great job keeping it quiet. But most things, it's like so it may be a new great mousetrap. I don't know, but it's probably not that great that you shouldn't do some market research behind it.
Well, and two things I would say. One is, yes, there are people who love you who will tell you it's great. There's also people who, I don't know if they love you, but they're close to you, and they will say, what the heck do you think you're doing with that? You can't do that. You're not the guy who's going to do that. And there's a lot of that. I mean, there's even a passage in the New Testament about it. I'm not a terribly religious person, but it's a very long-standing thing that people have a hard time seeing you differently than the way they've known you all your life. So that can also happen to people with your family. The other thing, though, is I agree that you should ask people's opinion about it, and you'll get a lot of feedback that had not occurred to you. But until you ask somebody to part with their hard-earned money, you won't know whether this product is really valuable. And you have to be able to sell it at a price. In other words, a value that you present has to be higher than your cost to produce it. If it's not, it's still not a product.
Yeah, that's totally true. I work with an organization doing some consulting work, and they are pretty heavily, and it's great to hear it. They're pretty heavily invested in this idea of voice of the customer. And they've got a fantastic team. They've been doing their stuff for years, but before they bring anything to market, they get voice of the customer information. And that is invaluable in getting people on board at an early stage to help design the product or service so that when a broader marketplace sees it, it's already been vetted against people who are using it. And I think there's a great lesson in that. It seems laborious, it slows things down, and I think some entrepreneurs are, and I can speak for myself here too, having been too fast, impatient. Instead of doing due diligence, getting impatient, plowing ahead, and creating things that nobody wants and nobody's willing to pay for. That's a dangerous place to be. Instead, slow down, get some market research, educate yourself, and I would go so far as to say this, piggybacking on your previous thought, if the idea doesn't change, having talked to people, something's wrong. That would be my first indication that you are on the wrong path. You talked to a bunch of people and they said, you're spot on, everything you said, and the way you're pricing it and all this, how it's going to work, you're dead on. Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Caution.
Seems like that would be an unlikely outcome because everybody has different values and perspective. But I tell you though, what I love is seeing something new, product or service that brings value and that does enrich the creator or the entrepreneur, whomever, because of just that very point that they brought so much value to so many people and the marketplace rewarded them for that.
Yeah.
It really, it all starts with the provision of value, and the more people that you can provide value to, the more you potentially can generate in revenue.
Yeah. I don't want to catch you off guard here, but as we're winding down our time, I'm going to throw up your link here, frankfelker.com. And I'm curious, in this idea of value creation, what steps do you have, or do you have steps that a person can, or questions, let's say, that a person can ask themselves when they're trying to determine, do I have something that is of sufficient value that I should go off and do something about it? What would you say to them?
I think, Jason, you have pretty much covered it. You need to talk to other people. The extent to which you can speak to strangers, people who don't know you, and even if you could be removed from the conversation personally, because your emotions will impact their reaction to the idea. The number one thing I would say, though, is because communication is sort of at the heart of my business in digital marketing, is get clear, not only in your own mind, but in your story of what this is. And I think I can make this very quick for you. I do something I call 2-minute explainer videos for my clients. And what it does is it starts by stating who this helps. Who are we talking to? So the person listening right away says, well, that's me, that's not me. And I'll give you an example. Are you losing your hair? Well, order our 24-page full color catalog. But if you're not losing your hair, you have no interest in that catalog and you're not going to call the 800 number. But first you identify who the prospect or client is. Then you state what the problem is. Then you really dig into what that problem is and pour a little salt in the wound. Then you present your solution. Then you give what the beneficial outcome is of engaging in that solution. And then you call them to action. Take action now. You need to be able to do that in 120 seconds or less. And if you can't even express it to yourself in less than 2 minutes, you're never going to be able to explain it to somebody else. And then clearly you don't have anything there.
Wow. Well, here's my 2-minute explainer for Coffee with Humans, because I think you're spot on. Coffee with Humans is raw, unedited, live conversations between strangers who become friends making the world a better place, one conversation at a time. This is my friend Frank. You can find him at frankfelker.com. Frank, thanks for joining me on Coffee with Humans.
Entirely my pleasure, Jason. Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
One of the things I love about Coffee with Humans are the raw conversation to have, meeting people just like you. If you or someone you know should be on Coffee with Humans, go to coffeewithhumans.com. Remember, the only rule is no sales calls.
This has been Coffee with Humans. Subscribe to get updates or click to have coffee with me. coffeewithhumans.com.